Atlanta is a thoughtful masterpiece. Like the show's executive producer, writer, and actor Donald Glover, Atlanta never commits to one approach to entertain its audience. Within its first 10-episode season, the show is filled with dramatic character development, social commentary, a look into the modern music industry, as well as plenty of laughs. Atlanta is the perfect project for all of the talents Glover has been developing, and while it would normally be considered suicide for a show to be so multifaceted and abstract, the FX series pulls it off by framing a cohesive narrative within the situational humor present within each episode. Atlanta was conceived from a widespread misunderstanding of black culture in America. Donald Glover shared in an interview that he wanted to show white people they didn't know everything about being black. The episodes cover a range of topics, from the tolerance of sexual identity to the appropriation of black culture and the one-size-fits-all labels that are placed on rappers. It confronts the hyperbole of common depictions of prison and selling drugs, music, and the internet age that we live in, showing the people and systems for what they truly are. There is so much social commentary to be gleaned from this show, but that isn't the show's purpose. In a different interview, Donald Glover said, "The number one thing we kept coming back to was that it needs to be funny first and foremost. I never wanted this to be important." While Glover has made this claim, it's tough to refute how the show is rife with set pieces depicting socially charged topics of discussion. While the show is certainly funny, it has so much to say. From satirical scenarios like transracial identity to social mobility, there are certain social truths that come in the form of uncomfortable stings throughout each episode, though they are typically sandwiched between more lighthearted moments. It feels like a pretty strange mix. After finishing the first season, I debated over and over again exactly what this show set out to do. How can a TV show be so funny but so sad at the same time? How do you engage an audience in laughter and sorrow simultaneously? Comedy is a funny thing. It's so ingrained into our humanity that it can be difficult to understand just what makes something funny. There are plenty of researchers that have published theories regarding this, but I think the most comprehensive theory is the benign violation theory. Authored by Peter McGraw, a psychology professor and founder of the Humor Research Lab, the benign violation theory compiles a lot of common thought about humor and wraps it up into a simple Venn diagram. McGraw developed this theory by traveling the world to form humor parallels from culture to culture. Benign violation theory proposes that humor occurs when three conditions are satisfied. Number 1, the given situation is a violation of what the audience feels is normal. Number 2, the situation is benign, not causing any immediate harm or hurt. Number 3, both perceptions occur simultaneously. McGraw writes that the easiest way to explain this is with tickling. When you're tickling someone, it produces a playful laughter because the danger you pose is benign, but it is a form of assault that is outside of the norm. Psychologists theorize this is part of our development as children to learn to defend ourselves from play fighting and tickling. Other examples of the benign violation theory can be found all throughout comedy. Take Louis C.K. for example. His comedy is very much steeped in social violations, but he jokes in a way that doesn't feel too soon or too personal. Take a look at this bit.
This is a big place. There's about 2,500 people here, and that's a lot of people. That's enough people to be like a sample of the population. There's enough people here to say that within 2 months, at least one of you will die. I'm just saying. I think it's probably accurate to say that out of any random group of 2,500 people, not all of you are going to make it to Christmas.
Louis is creating a violent perception by claiming that at least one person will die by Christmas, but the joke is benign because everybody is assuming that it won't be them. The joke lands because these two perceptions come together at once. What if someone had a heart attack in the audience shortly before the show, however? I know, fat chance, but humor me for a moment. If someone had been taken away by an ambulance in the audience shortly prior to the joke landing, it would not have been as funny to the audience because it would have been too soon, too insensitive. Let's think about a different problem on the other side of the diagram. What if the joke didn't have the edgy danger of death in it? Would the joke have landed as well if you were saying that one person was going to get the cold before Christmas? I wouldn't think so. There would have been no violation of norms. The joke would have had no punchline, no stakes. Both components are important, even if some comedy leans one way or the other. Like I said before, Louis certainly leans into the social violation side of the theory, but he is a master of delivering his comedy in a benign fashion. That's how he's able to retain an audience while he is talking about touchy subjects like race and the grudges that he holds against children. Like Louis C.K.'s work, Atlanta masterfully presents a mix of benign and violating scenarios to create incredibly clever comedy. What makes the comedy so clever is the use of socially sensitive situations being observed from a benign outsider. For instance, episode 2's plot follows Ern's experience being processed in jail. Ern and Alfred have been involved in a shooting, and while Alfred has been let go, we're taken through Ern's prison journey from his perspective. The idea for the episode was to make a boring, accurate depiction of prison rather than the prison most of us know from other TV shows and movies. The reality of prison clashes with our perception of it in the first few minutes of the episode.
Well, hold up, what about my cousin? Ernest? Moss?
He's not in the system yet, but when he is, then his bail can be posted.
Well, what's the charge?
What's the charge? Nigga, this ain't a movie. You better wait till he's in the system.
I hate this place.
Because we are viewing this from Ern's outsider point of view, the situation is benign as Ern isn't in any real danger. While the comedy is achieved, what Atlanta should be heralded for is the feeling you're left with after watching it. We're taken on these hilarious excursions with the cast, but we're left with questions to answer at the end of each episode. The prison episode is no exception. There are a lot of laughs to be had in this episode, but the scene that always comes to my mind first when I think back on it is this one.
Boy, you up in here every week cutting up.
He's in here every week.
Look, he dipping his cup in the toilet.
Oh, man, he gonna drink it.
Why is he in here every week? He look like he need help.
Don't tell me that's Lee in here again.
Yeah, it's him, all right. Drinking the toilet water again.
Oh, how's it going, Lee?
Now, that's just a 2-minute scene which is quickly brought back to a lighter tone, but we're left with the question long after the credits roll. The scene challenges us to look at how our society treats those with mental disabilities. The episode poses other questions about sexuality, violence, and stereotypes that also need to be processed. This is Atlanta at its best. It is telling a narrative, developing the characters, making relevant social commentary, and delivering a frequent dose of humor. It is like its creator, multifaceted, layered, and ultimately self-reflective. All of these aspects come together to form a believable and engaging story. The commentary being made isn't heavy-handed like Crash, nor does it get buried under the lighter portions of the show. Glover and his all-black writing staff were simply trying to express what it's like to be black in America in a humorous fashion. Humor has often been a backdoor for social change and understanding. It can become a coping mechanism we employ to move serious situations into more playful territory. Within that territory, however, we learn about the world around us from a different point of view. We are able to have our perspectives refined and challenged without the fear of immediate conflict. Like a child being tickled, we're not simply laughing, we're learning about the world around us and breaking down the walls between us.
For that phone call. And then I served you what you was asking for. Nah, you ain't gotta make that call now. Stone Mountain. Yeah, you started running that thing after us.